Communicable diseases. As in the previous video, I had explained you about the types of diseases. In that, the first type was communicable disease. So in this video, we are going to study about the communicable diseases in detail. So the diseases that are spread from one person to another. Who is that one person? The infected person. These diseases spread very fast from one person to another with the help of the pathogens or the germs. These germs or the pathogens could be viruses, bacteria, worms, and the fungi. Now, talking about the bacterial diseases, there are some common bacterial diseases. Pneumonia is the airborne disease and it gives the infection of lungs. Basically, it is common in children and the old people. Similarly, diphtheria is there and that is caused through the air by sneezing and coughing, droplet infection. So it infects children between 2 to 5 years of age and affects lining of the nose, throat and the tonsil. Next is the pertussis or the whooping cough, and this also happens with the help of or you can say by inhaling the contaminated air. Similarly, tuberculosis, in short it is known as TB. This also is a airborne disease and it generally affects the lungs. Then cholera is there. It infects the intestine. So because of this, loose motions and the vomiting ultimately led to the dehydration. Then typhoid is there through food and water, contaminated food and water. This food and water is contaminated by the flies or the sewage, and this also will cause intestinal fever, reddish eruptions on the chest and the abdomen. Next, talking about the viral diseases. Viral diseases are those diseases which are caused by the viruses. Very common problem is of common cold. Common cold, basically it spreads very fast because the viruses are very much active, and the infected person, if they sneeze or if any person is in contact with that person, so immediately the healthy person might also get affected with this problem. Then influenza is there. Influenza is also caused by the viruses. Then mumps, and it spreads from person to person with the contact. Virus is in the saliva of the infected person. Poliomyelitis, in short it is known as polio. So that also gets spread with the fecal matter and enters through nose and mouth and attacks the nerves controlling muscles. Next is the jaundice. Jaundice is also caused by the viruses, and it is just because of using the contaminated food and water. This virus, basically it enters in the liver, and the other symptom is that eyes, skin and the urine turn yellow. And one more disease that is very you can say dangerous one, it's rabies, or also known as hydrophobia. Why it is known as hydrophobia? Because a main symptom of rabies is that the person will start developing fear with water. This rabies disease is caused due to the bite of a rabid dog or cat. Virus is present in the saliva of the infected animal. That's why you see the pet dogs or the pet cats, they get the preventive injection of the rabies. Now the next category is of protozoan diseases. First one is the amoebiasis, also known as amoebic dysentery, and is caused by Entamoeba histolytica. This protozoan lives in the lower part of the small intestine and in the large intestine. The parasite causes discharge of blood and mucus into the stool. It spreads through food contaminated by flies or by contaminated water. And another disease, very common disease, is that is the malaria. Malaria is caused by the parasitic protozoan called the Plasmodium. And where it lives in the RBCs of the man. That means the red blood cells will have the Plasmodium. The patient suffers repeatedly attack of chill and high fever. That means the person will start feeling cold and then they will have high fever. A healthy person gets infected by the bite of female Anopheles mosquito who has sucked the blood of an infected person. So in this way the Plasmodium will get transmitted from the infected person to the healthy person. Next category is disease caused by worms. In this case, that is the Teniasis is there. Teniasis is caused by the flatworms, that is also known as a Taenia solium, and its body hangs freely in the intestine and absorbs food from the host. So whatever the person is having the food inside their intestine and the process of digestion goes on, that time the worm will start taking that food. So infection is spread by eating improperly cooked meshy pork or the beef. Next is the ascariasis, is caused by roundworms, and this also is an intestinal parasite that absorbs the host digested food. And the last one is the elephantiasis. The mode of transmission is the bite of the Culex mosquito. So here Culex mosquito is a vector. So elephantiasis is a vector-borne disease, and in this case what happens, the filarial worm enters inside the body through the Culex mosquito and it affects the lymph vessel in the body. So when the lymph vessels will get rupture, then all the liquid, all the lymphs will start coming downward, and that's why the foot appears very large.